too. The following weekend, at exactly 2 o'clock, there were a sharp rat a tat-tat on the front door. I ran to open it, and a gust of snowy air blew into the hallway. "Isadora!" cried Aunt Crystal, pulling me towards her for an icing hug. She looked more beautiful than I had remembered. Her long silvery hair floated out around her and sparkled with tiny snowflakes. And her hand, she was holding a suitcase that looks as though it was made of ice. "I'm so glad you're here, Aunt Crystal," I said, taking her suitcase from her and then putting it down quickly because it's so cold. "It's lovely to see you again, my darling," trilled Aunt Crystal. "It's a change from my cozy little igloo at a North Pole. There's not much snow around here, is there?" "No," I said. "I wish there was. Mom was telling me all about how you used to be on ice skating together when we were little." "Oh, yes," said Aunt Crystal. "We used to have such fun. Have you ever been ice skating before, Isadora? Everyone should try the last once." "I haven't," I said, thinking about investly of Oliver's party again. "Some of my friends are ice skating today of Oliver's birthday party, but I didn't get invited. It's expensive." "It is," agreed Aunt Crystal, "if you go to the big ice rinks in the city, but it's not as expensive if you're a snow fairy like me. Let's go in the back garden." I took her hand exactly and led Aunt Crystal to the back door. She threw it open, and we both peered out into the wild garden. Aunt Crystal raised her wand, and swish! Snowflakes glittered and sparkled fists. In the middle of the garden was a hard, shiny mirror, glinting in the sunlight. It was a bit older, surrounded by the green grass. Aunt Crystal must be thinking the same thing because she waved her wand again, and this time the whole garden turned into a winter wonderland. Frost twinkled onto the branch, and snow lay thickly all over the ground. The air felt different, cold and white and muffled. "There," said Aunt Crystal. "I feel more at home now." "It's beautiful," I whispered. Just then, Mom and Dad came up behind us. "Hello, Crystal," cried Mom happily, pulling her in for a tight hug. "I see you've all ready for the garden. Look at those glinting ices." "Brrr," said Dad, rubbing his hands. "A snow day!" I yelled, racking back inside get my coat and boot and gloves. Mom docked her an old ice skate and then magicked it up for everyone else, except Honey Blossom, who was too little to ice skate. Dad pulled on his warmest woolly vampire cape, and Aunt Crystal went round in her house, flinging open all the doors and windows. "It's nice to have a cold breeze in the house," she said. "An Arctic breeze more like," complained Dad, clutching his woolen cape tightly around himself. Then we all went outside. Aunt Crystal taught Pink Rabbit and me how to glide across the ice rink. Pink Rabbit was a little user because he was kept sliding on a place. Dad watched from the edge of silvering. "Come on, Bartholomew," said Aunt Crystal. You missed out on the fun. I'll like it, Dad, I yelled, twirling clumsily around my ice skate. It's like flying! Eventually, Dad stepped confidently onto the rink. He put his foot in front of the others and slid over the ice. Then he held his cape so below around him and skated faster. Oh, said Dan in a surprise. I'm a natural after all. After a while, Mom and Aunt Crystal, Honey Blossom, and Dad went inside. But Pink Rabbit and I stayed into the garden. I wish some friends were with me, but Zoe and Sashi was not be free, and Oliver was busy having his party. I wondered if I had started yet and what sort of cake he would be having. It made me feel a little bit sad, so I decided to make a snowman to cheer myself up. Come on, Pink Rabbit, I said, starting to make the ball with my hands. You can't help. I put a ball on the garden and started to roll it so that it got bigger and bigger. This will be the party, I said. Do you want to make the hat? But Pink Rabbit wasn't interested in helping me. He was making his own little snowman, a snow bunny. I started to make the hat on my own, and then I searched around the garden for something to use for eyes and buttons. I found the dark pebble spurs in the snow by the flower bed, so I poked them into the snowman's head and chest. I thought he needed something else, so I ran inside and fetched one of my caves, which was hanging up behind the front door. It was my favorite one, with stars and moons all over it. It fluttered my snowman perfectly. I said. I think he's too small to be a snowman. I think he's a snow boy. I stood back and admired my handiwork, and Pink Rabbit stood back and admiring his. My snow boy looked so friendly. He had a big white smile that I heard thrown into the snow in my fingers. I beamed back at him. Then he winked. I jumped back and shocked. Pink Rabbit, I said. Did you see that? Pink Rabbit nodded excitedly. He lifted his paws and waved at the snow bunny. When the snow bunny waved back, Pink Rabbit bounced up and down with glee. The snow bunny sprang around across the garden, and Pink Rabbit began to hop after her. They were playing chase. I stared hard at my snow boy, and as I did so, he started to move his head slowly as thought he was testing out his necks. After all, he had never used it before.